Alright guys, I'm covering the Monster Type Festival. I'm showing off my Dark World deck that I have for this. These are definitely not the ratios you would want to run for a Dark World deck outside the Monster Festival. I'll probably cover that soon as well, but this is what I'm running inside of it because we don't have access to dangers or other things like that. So here we go! 2. Cerulean Guru of Dark World. If it's discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, special summon it to your opponent's field in defense position. If this card is special summoned by the effect of a Dark World card, your opponent discards one card. 2. Fabled Raven. Once per turn, you can discard any number of cards. If you do, this card gains 1 level and 200 attack for each discarded card until the end of the turn. 3. Brow. If this was discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, draw 1 card. If it was discarded from your hand to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, draw 2 cards. 2. Beige. If it's discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, special summon this card. 3. Snow. On Light of the Dark World. If this card is discarded to the graveyard by a card effect. If this card is discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, sorry, this is weird wording. If it was discarded to your hand by the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, add 1 Dark World card from your deck to your hand, then special summon that target in defense position, if any. So 3 of this because it searches. The special summon's also kind of nice. And then 3 Genta, Gateman of the Dark World. You can only special summon Genta, Gateman of the Dark World once per turn. You can discard this card to the graveyard, add a Gates of the Dark World from your deck to your hand. If this card is banished and you control a Dark World card, you can special summon this card. This guy's really good. 3 gold, Woolord of the Dark World. If this card is discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, if it was discarded from your hand to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can target up to 2 cards your opponent controls, special summon this card, then destroy those targets, if any. So you can special summon it if you discard it by your own card effect. If your opponent discards it by their card effect, then you get to pop 2. Next we have Rainbow, Overlord of the Dark World. This guy hasn't been very useful. I actually think that running a better second gold would be better, personally. I think I'm actually going to swap that out now. He just hasn't really been that useful. Next, we have 2 Grapha, Dragon of the Dark Lord. You can special summon this card from your graveyard by returning 1 Dark World monster you control to the hand, except Grapha, Dragon Lord of Dark World. If this card is discarded to the graveyard by card effect, target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy that target. Then if this card was discarded from your hand to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, look at 1 card in your opponent's hand. Then if it was a monster, you could special summon it to your field. Pretty awesome. Next we have Rainbow, Overking of the Dark World. You can special summon this card from your graveyard by returning 1 level 7 or lower Dark World monster you control to the hand. If this card is discarded to the graveyard by card effect, you can... oh yeah, we already did that. Except Rainbow, Overking of the Dark World. If this card was discarded from your hand to the graveyard because of an opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower Dark World monster from your deck or graveyard to either field. 1 card destruction. 3 drag down into the grave. This has been pretty much filler in this, but I also like the hand knowledge it gives me. I'm probably going to run one of this in my actual Dark World deck because the hand knowledge is pretty sweet. Both players reveal their hands. Each chooses 1 card from their hand. Well, 1 card from their opponent's hand. Then discard the chosen cards from both players' hands. Then both players draw 1 card. This does not work if your opponent does not have a hand. 3 Dark World dealings. Each player draws a card, then discards a card. 3 Allure of Darkness. Draw 2 cards. Banish a dark monster from your hand. If you don't have any in your hand, send your entire hand to the graveyard. 3 Gates of the Dark World. All Fiend monsters gain 300 attack and defense. Once per turn, you can banish a Fiend monster from your graveyard, discard a Fiend monster, and then draw a card. And you can play another copy of Gates to destroy the first one, and use the effect of the second copy of Gates if you want to. You'll see me doing that in replays. Next we have Dark World Archives. During your main phase, you can discard a Dark World monster. If you do, Dark World monsters you currently control gain attack equal to the level of the discarded monster had in the hand times 100. Until the end of this turn, if a monster whose original type is Fiend is discarded from your hand to the graveyard by the effect of a Dark World card or an opponent's card effect. Even during the damage step, you can discard one card, then draw two cards. You can only use each effect of Dark World archives once per turn. Next, we have Dark World Accession. So during the main phase, you can fusion summon one Fiend fusion type monster from your extra deck by banishing materials mentioned on it from your side of the field or the graveyard. If you fusion summon a Dark World monster this way, you can also discard monsters as material, which is pretty sweet. During your main phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand and discard one Dark World monster. You can only use each effect Dark World Accession once per turn. Next, we have two Dark World Punishment. When a monster would be normal or special summoned, you can negate that summon, and if you do, destroy that monster or monsters. Discard one Fiend monster. If a Dark World monster you control would be destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. You can only use each effect Dark World Punishment once per turn. And then finally, we have Dark World Brainwashing. I would never run this in my actual Dark World deck, but playing it against decks in this event, it's been pretty good. When your opponent activates a monster effect, if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, except during the damage step, you can target one Dark World monster on the field, return it to your hand, and if you do, the activated effect becomes your opponent randomly discards one card. This is not once per turn. I am actually considering maybe running this in my main deck to play against Tier, because it would be hilarious. Next, getting to the extra deck, we got Grapha, Dragoon, Overlord of the Dark World. So it's Graphin, Dragon of the Dark World, plus a Dark Monster. If your opponent activates a monster effect or a normal spell or trap card where they have cards in your hand, quick effect, you can activate this effect. The activated effect becomes your opponent discards one card. You can only use this effect of Grapha, Overlord of the Dark World once per turn. If this fusion summon card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can special summon one Grapha, Dragoon of Lord of the Dark World that's banished during your graveyard, then each player discards one card. Next we have Cupid Pitch. Archimedes, you're probably not going to use these very much. Yes, King Archfiend. Angel of Zera. Number 41, Baguska. Number 60, Durgus the Timeless. This guy's really good because you can make him detach 2 materials, skip your next draw phase, draw 2 cards, then discard a card, so you can draw 2 and get a Dark World effect. 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 2 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Muckraker from the Underworld. This card's also great. It's 2 effect monsters, can't be used as link material the turn it's link summoned. If a monster or monsters you control be destroyed by battle or card effect, you contribute 1 Fiend monster instead. You can target 1 Fiend monster in your graveyard, except Muckraker from the Underworld, discard a card, and if you do, special summon that monster. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for Fiend monsters. You can only use this effect to Muckraker of the Underworld once per turn. Next we have Nightmare Unicorn, Apollosa, an Underworld goddess of the closed world, and that is it for the deck and the extra deck. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys a couple of the replays that I've captured for the event. I don't know why. I'm in master rank now, but when I was at the beginning of the event, I was still in, I believe, platinum. But for some reason, when I'm playing people in the event, I've been getting matched with platinum and diamond, which seems a little weird for matchmaking. But who knows? But anyway, here we go. Bam. 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 Look at those tiny usage rates for my cards. It's funny. Just drawing, drawing, drawing. Going off. Going off some more. And now we're pretty much set up. If my opponent tries to use monster effects, they might have a bad time. So here comes Fluffle. I've seen this frequent amount in the event. And I'm just going to say no, no, no. And they pretty much give up because I'm stopping their only starters. And I'm about to draw more cards. Because Count one Dark World card that lets you discard one to draw two is pretty good. Here's the next replay. So they just set 3, and I'm like, okay, it's probably Labyrinth. So here we go. Archives, Dealings, bam. Search for Snow, bam. Labyrinth. Or not Labyrinth, Archives. They're gonna target Grapha to snatch it away from me, whatever. Here's the Labyrinth cards. We're just gonna do things. Just Dark World things. And we get another Grapha. Pretty sweet, because we need that pop ability. You know, just Dark World things, drawing their entire deck pretty much. They were gonna turn that to me for some reason. I'm like, okay man, that's fine I guess. We're gonna make the dragon. We're gonna drag down our opponent. At this point we pretty much just want the extra card. We're gonna summon, swap out, add back to hand, discard, draw a card, a lure, and we get the card destruction, and we're just like, oh, that's yummy. We just go bam, 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 bam. Run out the heavy hitters. So now my field's pretty sweet. If this wasn't the event, I would have went into a rank 8 exceed. Probably the one that negates magic cards. But my opponent's doing stuff. I'm gonna say no. I discard the gold by luck, and I'm gonna blow up their board. They have nothing in hand, nothing on field. They're finished. Alright, let's get into the last replay. I had a lot of trouble finding the correct ratios for this in the event, too. It was just really weird. This deck without danger is, like, pretty hindered, in my opinion. But here we go, doing Dark World things. Just bam, 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 bam. They're gonna Fluffle Bear. I don't like that. We're gonna stop that. We're gonna try to summon. We're gonna stop that. And here's even more stuff. My opponent's just going off with Fluffles, and I'm like, dang, this is annoying. So next we're gonna have Cruel Whale, and I'm just gonna be like, oh, more effects? No, we're gonna stop the effects. We're gonna Grapha, and Grapha comes out, and because it was technically discarded by their effect, I get to special summon their Sabers, which that was pretty sweet. And so now I'm just like, well, I just might as well go off at this point. Just add back, return. Bam, add back, return. Just massively sweet options here, pretty much. Bam, bam, bam. Constantly going off. We have the field. They're the boys. It was a fun match right there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, it's sponsored by W Energy. If you guys want a good energy drink that comes out to about like $1 a scoop, it's just powder you mix in like one of those workout shakers. Really good. I like it a lot more than energy drinks from the store. But yeah, it's just good stuff, man. I like the taste of the mango orange creamsicle, I believe is the flavor. It's Really good. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Let me know what you think of this. And yeah, later.